Hello, I am Panos Kotzathanasis, and this is ASEAN Movie Pulse interviews. Today I am here with Malaysian filmmaker Nik Amir Mustapha. How are you, Nik Amir?
Hi, good. Thanks. Yourself?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Very glad to have you here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Okay. So let's begin with something outside the movie. Can you tell me a bit about Lunatic Films, your production company?
Oh, okay. Well, I used to study in Sydney, engineering. I did electrical engineering in Sydney, and
Mm-hmm.
then I decided, I want to make films. I enrolled in one like film school for 1 year, and I came back and made films. And after like years after that, I started my own production company. Before that, I was like making films with other production companies just as director. So Lunatic Films is the production company that I run, and we do local TV commercials, TV content, and now lately, this is the latest one. Imaginur is our latest and first feature film under Lunatic Films,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my third feature film.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, yeah.
Do you think it is important to have your own production company when creating a film, let's say?
Not necessarily. It's just the way that I have been operating, because in Malaysia I don't get the chance to do feature films too much. As I said, this is my third feature. The first two was with other studios, like local studios. So I don't have any say in terms of rights and all that. So it's just like, okay, I wrote the film, made it and stuff. So the deals, I was younger as well. So uh, after a while, I decided, I want to have ownership of my films. So, I started the production company. But it started off before I made Imaginur, my first film with this company. We did all the local productions just as work. Yeah, so to have a film under this company, and having it like ownership of the film is good luck for me. Yeah.
Okay. And
Mm.
tell me a bit about Imaginary. What was the inspiration behind the story of the film?
Oh, okay. Well, Imagino is about a guy who's a bit confused, I would say, and he goes through this treatment, like hypnosis treatment, and a girl appears in his life. So it's him really looking for himself, and like figuring out himself, his life, and my inspiration is mostly with things I'm exposed to, my interest in films, the type of films that I want to do. In Malaysia, it's a bit hard to position your films and choose what kind of movies you want to make, but because you either have to follow like international taste and go through the festival circuits and be like out there, or you can do like a local taste, and because it's a business thing, right? So locally you do to the local taste and all that, but my taste and what I've been experiencing so far throughout my life is a mixture of both. So I decided, choose the right scale of film, and this is a story that fits that. It's sort of in the middle, but it sort of represents my taste, my kind of thinking, what I think about stories that I like, so encapsulated in a film that I want to present.
And the story in general is a bit confusing. Let's say you aim for some disorientation, some confusion. We have back and
Yeah.
forth repetitions of scenes and a lot of things happening. How difficult was to create a story like that to present it in a movie?
I wrote it with my good friend Reza Minhat. He was my actor for my first film, and he wrote my second film. So this is our third film together, and we wrote it together. So he is very cerebral. He's very thinking. The same as me. We have this same taste, like similar taste. So we bounce around ideas very well together, I think. And it's a long process of, discussions and rearranging, but it took a long time. Actually, I wrote this started to write this maybe in 2010, something like that. So bits and pieces, and we slowly explored and took our time, really. Yeah.
And was it difficult for the actors, in particular the protagonists, to get into this approach?
I'm not sure. I hope he understands what he's doing. But I think it is following a certain point of view. So I think when I'm explaining it to him, it's very like living in the now kind of thing. So when we're doing a certain scene, I think it's quite straightforward what he's thinking. He doesn't need to think so much, what's the backstory of it so much. It's just very like living in the moment, for especially Beto Kusyairy, who plays the main. Yeah.
But did you tell him the whole story from beginning to end?
Yes,
he knew.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Right. So we talked extensively. I explained everything, and we discussed everything.
Okay. Okay. So can you tell me a bit about the casting? How you ended up with Beto Kusyairy?
Okay. Yeah. So the main actors are Beto Kusyairy and Danielle, and there's also our local Aflin Shauki, who plays a hypnotist in the film as well. So Beto Kusyairy, I've always admired his acting. He's been in a lot of local films that are very well received, and people know him especially for his acting, and how he's very grounded and honest in his approach for films. So it's a no-brainer for me to choose him. And I found Diana to be really suitable for the character Noor. I mean, I've never worked with her before, but after speaking to her, she's very intelligent. So, and that is required in this particular film. When I was explaining the story and everything, she asked the right questions. So I hadn't decided on who, but I've met like a few. But when I met Diana, I knew like, she gets it, she understands, like, and she asks the right questions and fits. Yeah.
But Danielle is quite popular in Malaysia, if I understand correctly.
Yes. I think both is very popular, especially Beto Kusyairy now, because he recently just came out with a film that's the highest grossing in Malaysia. So currently he is really rising, but he's been known and very much respected as an actor way before that even. Yeah.
Does it make things easier for the movie? I mean, in terms of raising funds, let's say, or the popularity, to have popular actors in it, you think?
Well, for us, the funding for this, it was quite straightforward, because partly it's FINAS funding, is government support, and the rest of it is our own money. I worked for years collecting money, and then when we are able to do it, we pull the trigger and do it. So it's not really, we have support from, family and friends and stuff like that, but not so much, in terms of like trying to get investor, that kind of route, not really. So it was more like internal funding. So of course, having their names also helped, and hopefully when we release it in Malaysia, we can go out with people thinking like, okay, this is like a proper film with like, solid cast, and hopefully they like the film.
Okay. Two of the two female protagonists, the character of Noor and the protagonist's ex-fiance, are really beautiful women. Do you think that's important for a film? Does it help to have beautiful protagonists, let's say?
I mean, Of course, in terms of realistically, maybe, you can argue that, they might be like very beautiful, like a bit out of this world, but especially for Noor, I feel that is an angle to it as well, because Noor in this film is a bit mysterious, and I was looking for that charisma and allure, like people. So especially from Beto's character Zuhal side, he is like a elusive girl of his dreams in a way. So that angle I was looking for. Apart from actually, like for me, to be honest, I like to work with people who I can connect with, and understands what I want to do. So to have someone like Diana, especially, who's a big star in Malaysia, but she's really down to earth, and gives her all. That attitude is important for me while making, because I'm not so I'm not sure if I'm like a name that I can go out to any A-list actors in Malaysia and say, hey, come do a film with me, because I don't know them. But I'm lucky with Diana, because even though I don't really know her at the start, she's really down to earth and we connected. So that's important. Attitude is always good for me. Yeah.
And also, these two women look very modern, but at the same time, the protagonist's sister is like more traditional and she wears specific clothes. Did you do that on purpose to show like what kind of life in Malaysia? Let's say?
Yeah. I mean, I was hoping to go for like a snapshot in Malaysia, but very particularly into Zuhal's life. So in Malaysia, we have like a few different ethnicities, like Malay, Chinese, Indian, but particularly in Zuhal's life, and we have like Eurasians and mixed. There's a lot of different kind of people. So particularly in Zuhal's life, it's seen there. So it's not really just to as a like pretty face to put in, that kind of thing. So it's really like a snapshot for me, at least.
Okay. And regarding the concept of the hypnotist, does this actually exist in Malaysia? Are hypnotists working in the country and people go to them, let's say?
Yeah, in a way, not like professionally, really, I'm not sure. There might be, but on the superstitious side, is very very much there. A lot of people believe in hypnosis, and but it has a sort of negative connotation. Like people usually do bad things with it in a way. Like Malaysians would think that way first. So this way, I took the approach more like a medical angle, and more practical approach, I would say, rather than like the superstitious angle. Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned it, what is the situation with the health system in Malaysia, let's say?
Health.
Yeah.
Oh, I think personally, I think it's really good. It's more like a equivalent of like UK's like NHS. I think like the local, we get like nearly free medical support, and they've done a good job, especially with this COVID times, and yeah, it might be like a bit more, more wait times or something like that if you're going like on a public angle, public medical, but they're one of the best people, I would say, from my experience at least.
Okay. And to go back to the film again, can you tell me a bit about the cinematography and what you wanted to do in the visual aspect of the movie?
Okay. Well, I didn't want to go with like I wanted to go with like realistic looking, so I didn't want it to stand out so much in terms of like beauty shots or things like that. So I just wanted to like view a story in a way. So not so much, I would say, controlled presentation. So we wanted to be more naturalistic, because at the time I was like very much into, Iranian cinema, things like that. So it's very grounded, but at the same time I was also, I love like Charlie Kaufman or like Christopher Nolan kind of things, like all the US stuff as well. So like I said before, it's a mix and match of things that I like. So I wanted to focus more on story first, and the technical aspects of it to be more like a supporting angle. Yeah.
And can you tell me a bit about the scene in the supermarket? Was it difficult shooting that?
Which part? How do you mean difficult?
Okay, I'm asking because I used to work in a supermarket. So how this thing go? How do you go to a supermarket and tell we want to shoot a scene here? How does this happen?
Okay. Yeah, practically. Well. When we were shooting, we had a few difficult moments. In the beginning, there is a supermarket scene, and the characters are there talking and like interacting. Initially, I just wanted to do at like a small convenience store, which we have a lot in Malaysia. And because this is like my own company and it's our own like personal film, it's very like we manage it ourselves, talking to the managers and all that. So the first choice location that we went to is on the second day of shoot. So when we were we arrived, everyone unpacked everything, but they didn't let us in. So we had to find another option, and luckily we found that one that we used, and it was surprisingly very smooth, I guess, because it was a weekday or something, and the nobody has ever shot there anything, and they were very supportive, and not many customers at that day, so it was quite smooth, I would say.
Okay. So you shot during the operation. It was not closed for the shooting.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me a bit about the scene that begins the film, which is a recurring one in the film with the back of a woman. Where did you shoot that, and how did you shoot it?
Well, initially, we wanted to shoot it in Japan. We went to Japan for recce and all that. But when we shot it, halfway, about like 18 days into the shoot, or like 2 weeks into the shoot, it was the first lockdown in Malaysia. So we had to stop shooting, and we haven't shot the Japan parts. So we had like 4, 5, 6 months of like lockdown, and I rewrote the script towards the back part of it, and we changed it to be local because we couldn't fly anymore, couldn't travel anymore. So that happened in Perlis. It's a northern territory of Malaysia, and over there is like border of Thailand. So it's very like mountainous and they have a lot of nature and natural views. So that was nice. Yeah.
And can you tell me a bit about the editing of the film, what you wanted to do there and how much time it took you?
Well, it's very much relates to Zuhal's journey. So I wanted people to really experience someone without like mentioning spoilers or anything. I wanted people to experience what Zuhal experiences. So it was very present, I would say. I mean, like there's no how would I say? It is just present. His present feelings, present time, whatever he's experiencing in that scene is just that, and it continues on following this point of view. So I was trying to achieve that.
Okay. And can you tell me what is your opinion of the Malaysian film industry at the moment?
I think we are starting to be better now. It's a bit tricky because, as I said, we have a lot of different ethnicities like Malay, Chinese, Indian, and that presents a split in the market in a way. So if you compare to, like, say, Indonesia, for example, everybody's Indonesian. There's not really an ethnicity, like, for example, like Thailand as well. So if you make a Thai film or like an Indonesian film, it's for the whole of the country. But for us, depending on the language you use, Malay or Mandarin or Tamil, it caters to certain specific groups. So of course, everybody hopes to get everybody, but you know, the market is like that at the moment. So it's a bit tricky to justify spending on a film a certain amount, because you know that, oh, it's not going to be like the whole of Malaysia or like even like markets overseas. So we're trying to find our footing. So what I've been doing is, at least for this film, is I decided, you know, just do something that I feel is to my taste, and what I hope, you know, people can get and understand, and see my point of view of how films should be, at least like Malaysian films, and embrace that, because I wouldn't want to, you know, study like, oh, what do Malaysians like, because I kind of know Malaysians kind of like this kind of popular sort of films, and then I wouldn't want to do that just because of that. I still want to be true to myself and present something and try to get them to buy into it. Yeah.
But in general, local people watch local films?
Yes, locally, recently, the one that Beto was starring in, it was called Mat Kilau, and it made like 71 million ringgit. So that's like, what? That's the highest grossing, even more than Avengers in Malaysia. So there is an appetite, and it seems like it's more like blockbuster kind of films, but local. So drama or like romance, sci-fi, like with story, kind of different story a little bit, is still finding footings. But I'm hoping, you know, in the future, people are slowly getting into it and getting into films.
Okay. And you mentioned that you got some support from FINAS. Can you tell me a bit about your cooperation and how FINAS works in general?
FINAS every year has like a grant system that they award. You have to apply with your projects and go through certain processes like pitching, presenting to them, and in the end, like their panel decides on certain films to support and give some monetary funding. So we got a bit from that for our funding, and the rest we raised ourselves. Yeah, and they're very supportive in that, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. And one of your previous films is streaming on Netflix.
Yes.
In general, what is your opinion about Netflix and streaming services in general? Helpful or problem?
I think it's good because people get access to more films. Depends on their taste, I would say. Like Netflix programs a certain type of films, you know, maybe something like movie might you know, have different kind of films, and of course Netflix is more famous, but at least it's a chance and also a window, you know, for films to have like a second life also, in a way, if they get in. With Malaysian market at the moment, I'm not sure about their strategy, but compared to like, say, Thai films or like even Indonesian films, because they have the market and eyeballs, the chances for them to get on that platform is a bit higher than Malaysian films, especially ones that are you know, not as blockbustery, you know, might have to fight a little bit to get on there. I think. Yeah.
But is the revenue you get from Netflix good, let's say, if your film up on the platform?
I wouldn't know because I haven't gone through that process yet. Because, like I said, this is my first film, and we haven't released yet. But from what I heard, locally it's a bit tricky to get like good, like very good deals. I don't know. Depends on how successful you are in the box office, maybe in the cinemas. But I haven't gone through that yet. So this is like another angle to it because I produced this film myself, well, with co-producers like Nandita, my in-house producer Hafiz. So we're sort of like learning the ropes in a little bit, especially on the producing side, because in terms of like the directing side and like making the film is one aspect, but now onwards it's like the producing side in terms of like selling and all this. I don't really have experience, but we're trying to make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you working on any new projects, any other plans for the future?
I have some stories, but you know, my brain, like I said, because coming from an engineering background and going into like film, so I always think of my brain as having like two sides, you know, producer and director, like the thinking side, like the numbers, and also like the creative side. So at the moment, the numbers haven't really add up yet for the next ones, but the filmmaker side of my brain has stories. I have like quite a few stories that I want to make, but just have to like realize it, like like actually making it, the reality has to kick in. So I'm kind of thinking about how to get that done. Meanwhile, I'm just doing like my daily work, you know, producing for TV content and TV commercials and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that's it. Thank you very much, Nik Amir.
Thanks so much.
This was ASEAN Movie Palace interviews from Panos Kotzafanasis and Nik Amir. Have a nice evening. Bye.